I think that got changed, didn't it?
Well, there's two of them.
There's two of them.
Yeah.
I say, because I saw that one, I saw another one, it was the right one.
I'll bet it didn't.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. An agenda's been provided for the meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I have no additions or corrections at this time.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the agenda then as presented.
Second.
Okay. A motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Next up, we have the approval of the consent agenda, which includes the meeting minutes of April 9th, 2019, the approval of auditor warrants of 4/15/19 and 4/19/19, approval of hospital warrants in the amount of $418,317.72.
Mr. Chair, I'd move for approval.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have motion second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. First up, we have County Engineer Nick Bergman for culvert purchases. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have one item today, request to purchase some culverts from True North Steel. It's just replenishing our inventory. We got two quotes. True North Steel is the low bid. I'd recommend going with them. One other thing I have to add to that, I guess, and we don't have to do this, but we had a representative from Rock Township stop in yesterday, and they have a bunch of culvert work they need to do, so they would like to buy a bunch of culverts. So I guess I'm asking if it's okay to tack on whatever they need to this. We don't know what that is yet. We won't know till maybe tomorrow. It's for them. It's just so we don't have two trucks coming in. If we don't do it, I just have to come back and order culverts a little sooner than expected, because they go through quite a bit here. But it doesn't matter to me. I can do it either way. It just might save a little bit of time.
We're just trading dollars anyhow, right?
Yeah, as soon as we get them in, they'll come pick them up, and we'll send them a bill right away for it. So,
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve the bid to True North for $18,859 and give Nick the discretion to add some additional culverts as necessary for resale. I would second.
Okay, we have motion and second, approval of culvert purchases from North Steel, True North Steel. Is there any further discussion? Okay. If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Thank you.
all right. Then I handed out the annual report. I'll put it on the agenda later. I'll bring it up again, see if you guys had any questions, but we should all have copies of that now. So, that's all I had. Any other questions for me or anything?
This picture sums it up pretty good.
Yes,
last
it
year.
does. Yeah.
Lakefront property.
Nick, do you want to go over that on the 7th?
Yeah, I'll plan on going over that on the 7th
I'll
again.
put it on there too.
All right.
How tough are the gravel roads in with the ice storm and the?
Better than I thought they'd be.
I was out on one yesterday, and I was surprised too that it
Yeah.
turned out better. And I thought it's soft, but there's still a lot of good gravel on them.
I thought it'd be worse. I really did. So I'm pleasantly surprised. All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a good day.
Next up, we have Tyler Rice, Auditor Treasurer for tax abatement hearing, but that needs to be held at 9:30. Looking for additional material to move up at the time. Kathy, would you be willing to present personnel?
Yes. Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Kathy.
Well, since Nick's still here, I'm going to start with the Pipestone County Engineer appointment, recommendation, and employment agreement. So, per statute, the county board does appoint an engineer for a 4-year period of time. The first year, you can just appoint for a 1-year period, which is what we did. Nick started his position last year on May 1st, and we are required to do this in May of every year. So this would go into effect May 1st of 2019. So I don't know if Steve wants to add anything, but I guess we would recommend the board appoint Nick Bergman as county engineer for a 4-year period starting May 1st, 2019.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to appoint Nick Bergman as county engineer for 4 years. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, discussion if I may.
Absolutely.
Had a review with Nick and noted that Nick in his short term of being the engineer for a year now has done a very good job, in my opinion. We've met. He's a very good communicator with me and the board, and I've seen him progress a lot as he's moving forward in his position, and very pleased with his actions as well and his abilities with the county. So I'm glad to have him and glad to have him as our engineer. Very fortunate. I'm glad to have him.
I think we all could agree to that. So.
I agree. I think Nick's done a great job.
Yep. I agree. And likewise, communication's been excellent. We appreciate that, Nick. Thank you. Okay. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Thank you.
And then next I have, just to go along with that, the approval of his employment agreement. So he is, we do set his salary and benefits and everything by this employment agreement. He gets the same full-time benefits as any other county employee. His wages set here per the agreement, which I have his current wage listed in the base salary section here under compensation. And he would be eligible for salary increases. He doesn't get steps, but he would get the general wage or cost of living adjustment at the beginning of each year, equivalent to what other non-union employees would get. So,
Mr. Chair, I'd move for approval of the agreement.
Okay. I will second the motion for the employment agreement.
Okay, we have motion second to accept the employment agreement as presented. Any further discussion? Not all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you.
The next request I have is from the sheriff's office. And we did have a brief personnel committee meeting this morning to go over their requests. So they are looking to hire 2 part-time deputies. And we have a current employee who is licensed. He's a jailer for the sheriff's department, and that's Tyler Rippentrop. So they would like to hire Tyler in to fill some shifts as a deputy. Basically what they would do is pull him off some jail shifts and backfill those with a part-timer in order to not incur overtime. But just for coming up, looking at the summer and having events and things and vacations coming up, it'd be nice to utilize him for that. So he did complete an application. They did all the background checking requirements, and they're prepared to have him start. Just to put a little bit of pay differential from his jailer position, we would like to recommend hiring him in at step C of the pay plan, which is $23.90 per hour. It's $1 more an hour than what he makes now. So I would need approval to hire Tyler Rippentrop as a part-time deputy on step C of the current pay plan. Is the first request.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion that we approve hiring Tyler Rippentrop as a part-time jailer at step C.
Second.
Okay, we have motion second. Is there any other further discussion?
As a part-time.
Part-time.
Deputy.
Part-time deputy.
Part-time deputy, I misspoke, not jailer, part-time deputy.
Any further discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Okay, and then my second request is another part-time deputy. So they would like to hire Tony Sievert as a part-time deputy. He currently works for the Lake Benton Police Department. Has some flexibility in his schedule and feels that he would be available to fill in some shifts as well. And we'd be looking at hiring him in at step B of the current pay plan, which is $23.18 per hour. Just based on some of his previous experience and not putting him above any of our current staff. So I'd be seeking approval to hire him as well.
Chair, I'd make that motion.
Yep.
And I will second.
Okay, we have motion second to hire Tony Sievert as part-time deputy.
I
Yep,
do have a question.
yep, go ahead.
Budget-wise, that's going to fit for Keith's budget?
It's gonna cut back on overtime,
That's what they're hoping,
So
yeah.
It'll be budget neutral because we'll be cutting back in the overtime.
Trying to be, but
And as far as equipment costs, I believe we discussed that too a little bit. They're not gonna have their own cars or anything, so they're just gonna use what's available. And
If somebody's on vacation, that vehicle would be used then.
Again, they're part-time
Yeah.
deputies.
Tony does work full-time as the police chief of like that. So, okay.
another thing is we're going into summertime, there will be a lot of shifts to be covered up at the sheriff's department too. So everyone wants vacation and time off, things like that, so,
Absolutely.
yep, the need is there.
Okay, we have a motion second to approve Tony Sievert as a part-time deputy. Any further discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank
That's all
you.
I had this morning.
Okay. Well, since we do have Dave Keeler here, maybe we'll move up that agenda item, or is that even listed on here?
Tyler for
Mr.
that.
Chair, we need Tyler for that. That's listed at 9:45.
Oh, that'd be part of the investment strategies? Okay. I was thinking the other action that we needed to take.
We could bring Tyler in earlier if you'd like.
We can move up the fuel take limited site
Okay,
investigation
that
update.
won't take long. That's, Mr. Chair, that's on me. That's just a point of clarification on that from last time we were here. We approved the local site investigation. The site is the same, but the difference is in talking to Nancy Hennon Bloomy from MPCA, is that apparently in 2017, on November 30th, there was a 1,000-gallon tank that was sitting in the same spot as the old 3,000-gallon tank was removed. And what happened after it was removed is that they needed groundwater contamination testing. So that's what this LSI is for. So the issue that I misspoke on was the tank size that was there. There was a 3,000-gallon tank that was removed in 1998. A 1,000-gallon tank was installed there, and then when the boiler system was changed here, late 17, that all came out, and so now we need to do an LSI for contaminated water. So that's the issue on that. And West Central Environmental still has the quote on that for $7,000 and change. So it doesn't change anything. I just wanted to clarify the tank issues we had here. So at one time, over the years, we've had 3 tanks here. The 10,000-gallon unleaded tank, which is closed and done, because that was removed a long time ago. Then we had a 3,000-gallon tank, which is just to the north of the generator. That was removed in 98. And then we had a 1,000-gallon tank put in, and then that was removed in 2017. So we had like our own little tank farm out here for a while. So we are without tanks now, and what's going on is that was what was the issue on that. So I apologize for my miscommunication last week, so.
No problem. Well, thanks for clarification.
So that'll happen very shortly here too.
Okay. Thank you.
If you'd like, I can move on with the committee member appointment. I've put that on the agenda. That's on me
I did
as
skip
well.
over that. Let's go ahead and do that.
Okay. Mr. Chairman and board members, Mayor Coots from City of Pipestone was down 2 weeks ago, and prior to their council meeting on the 15th, and he had requested that 2 commissioners be appointed to a joint City of Pipestone, County of Pipestone, and ISD 2689 School District Committee for collaboration, discussions, anything that might come up economic development-wise, whatever the case may be, that brings the 3 units of governments together here locally to do that. At their 15th meeting, April, they appointed Dan and Justin to that committee by unanimous vote at their April 15th meeting. And it would be, I would like to recommend that 2 commissioners from this group be on that as well. And it might make sense, being this is a City of Pipestone thing, might be the 2 city commissioners would be my suggestion. Can't tell you what to do, but if depends what you what you'd like to do on that, but that might make sense for this.
Okay, Dan, you willing to sit on this?
Yes, I would be, yep. And clarification, when you said Dan, you meant from the city, Dan Delaney.
Dan Delaney,
Yep.
yep. Dan Delaney and Justin Schroyer were appointed from the city council.
But yes, I'd be willing to serve for the county.
I guess I'll go ahead and make the motion to appoint myself and you then to the City, County, School District Committee.
I guess I'll second that if that's appropriate. I'm just kind of questioning who's going to pay the per diem and the meeting expenses. Is that going to be county expense or is this? city
That'd be county
for
expense.
that,
That would be county expense for the per diem.
How often will they meet?
Don't know, originally the thought was possibly quarterly, possibly biannually, just.
Sure. I wouldn't see this being a monthly meeting.
Weekly, or anything like that, just.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Just a comment, I know at the last AMC Transportation Work Group, they mentioned if, not just county officials, but city, school district, chamber, anyone that could, share their views on transportation funding with their legislators would be greatly appreciated, because the more people they hear from, maybe they'll get the hint.
Well, this may be a way to reach out to the school district too, because they could have some issues too moving forward with the new elementary being built out there too, so.
Right.
Okay. Is there any other further discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Is there any other business you'd like to move up at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I would be glad to do the first quarter budget report.
Sure.
That's the two large packet, or stapled items you have. I have the account activity report for you from the first quarter. I know some of you like to go through that. I know I killed a lot of trees when I printed this out. But first quarter budget report, departments are on target. One area that was a little odd, but I learned that that's payroll from last year is the probation office. So that was nothing new, why they're at 100% of salaries right now. That's going back to 2018 salaries, so the 2019s won't get paid for until in 2020.
You're behind.
Yeah, it's a year behind on that, so that's the only anomaly that I was looking for there and found. On page 53 of the first quarter report, that starts out with economic development opportunity, but the bottom of it has the totals for county revenue for the first quarter. Revenues for the first quarter and remember this is without the first half of taxes coming in, which will be coming in May, and starting now they're starting to come in. But we're at roughly 8% of revenue, and expenditures at 30% overall, so that's really good. We're very, very pleased about that. And if you flip the page, you'll notice that the ditch and its own fund, is nothing going on in that. The levy is in. We've spent a little bit of $453 in money that's come in as delinquent taxes, that type of thing that filters in throughout the year. So expenditures have been virtually nil on that. Family Services Fund, there, again, the tax revenue coming in for that is the same situation. It's delinquents, past due taxes. So the first distribution will not go out until after taxes come in May, so that's why that's at 3% right now. Looking at the road and bridge, when Nick was here, biggest issue they had over the winter was overtime. Kathy had a report for me through February that showed they had over $37,000 in overtime. That just goes to show you how bad the winter was and how busy those guys have been out there. And fortunately, they worked hard and worked safely. So on highway administration, we're at 34%, which is just fine. Maintenance, revenues are at 71% for the first quarter, expenditures at 37%. And highway shop maintenance on page 59, revenues are at 47% and revenues at 30%, right on target where we'd like to be. And construction account, that's very low, there's nothing going on in construction yet, so that's virtually nil, 0 and 4%. And taxes, again, the last one, the non-departmental, we're at 18% of revenue, and expenditures are 17% overall for the entire road and bridge budget. So first quarter is looking very good. So, and I'll continue to pass these out. We get to the second quarter and see how we're doing there, but financially everything's looking very well on that. expenditures and income for your departments.
Well, thank you, Steve.
Pleased to report.
One year that the bid on the gas was quite favorable on the gas.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Up some more now.
Yeah. Supposed to trend up over, what, next couple months?
Wish we could have done it for more than 6 months.
It took a year.
Yeah.
I don't think they were giving us that option.
Mr. Chair, it does pose a question, and Steve, I don't mean to hit you out of the blue
Yeah.
on this. The electricity made me think about our solar system out there. Have we got any kind of report or feedback on that, or where we're at financially?
I have tried numerous times to get in touch with BHE, which is the owner of this solar system, and I can't get a response either by email, telephone call, or anything from these people. So, no, I do not have a report on this. All I know is the difference between what we're paying and what we're getting back is 0.01 cent per kilowatt hour. So it's not a great deal that we're getting back on it. But it is a 1.0, it's a penny per kilowatt hour is the
Right.
difference that what it is. So best I can tell you right now, and I'll keep trying to reach out to them, but I'm not getting any response back.
Okay, thank you.
Wasn't that part of the agreement, though? That
Yes.
they would provide some type of accounting?
Yeah, you're correct, and I'm not getting a response from them to get that. That's what I'm trying to get from them, and unless I can't get a hold of them, so I will keep trying. So,
One of those frustrations.
yeah, another one of them.
Comes down to it, you might have to have the county attorney contact them.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, on the last item, the restricted and assigned budget balance approval, I'd like to recommend, let's wait until Auditor Treasurer Reich is here. And if you have any questions for him on any of these accounts, that'd be a good time to discuss those, and then we can take action on that if that would be okay.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So, thank you. Okay, well, that's all we can really do till the public meetings start, so I guess we can take a brief recess until 9:30, so. Okay. And then we'll reconvene at 9:30. Thank you.
Steve, you mentioned about how our
Okay, it's 9:30. We'll reconvene the meeting.
Okay.
Next up, we have Auditor Treasurer Tyler Reich. We have a couple tax abatement hearings.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right. So the first one we had for actually at 9:30 was for Greg and Caitlin Hart on parcel 05.013.0900. For a total abatement amount for all 3 years equaling roughly $4,440. So I just need approval for actually approving that said abatement.
I will move. Okay, I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion second. Is there any further discussion?
I don't know if you're aware, but that's a really nice project. It's out on the Hatfield Road. There was an old farm place there, and they cleaned that all up, and they've got new trees planted out there already, and it's gonna be a really nice property.
This is just east of Hatfield?
South.
South.
It's about a mile and a half north of 9.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it's
That'd be a nice area.
It's gonna be a very nice project, I think.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Okay. Since we have to wait until 9:40 on the Gary and Joan DeVries one, I do have an application from a Lloyd's Wart. Was looking to have a public hearing date set on May 7th we said on 10 a.m., correct? Is what we decided on that one? Okay. So I'm just looking to have the public hearing date set for that one. This one is actually in the new edition in Edgerton down there, parcel number 13.460.0050, with an annual estimate of $964 for a total of $2,890. So just looking for the public hearing date set for that one.
And what was the individual's name?
Lloyd's Wart is the contractor. He's going to be building it and then selling it. So,
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion that we set the public hearing then for the Zwart project for May 7th at 10 o'clock.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion second. Is there any further discussion? Not all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
all right. So, since we still have 7 minutes or so, do have a little update on, if you don't mind me. just
No,
kind
go
of
ahead,
running
yeah.
with this. The movie theater, Centerpoint has gone in there and did the work last week. So we are waiting on Double D to come in and do the work on the back wall Once I get a confirmation date of when they're actually going to do it, I will publish for the auction right away, because that will have to be published for essentially 30 days before the auction, so that we can kind of get going on that as fast as possible, because I do still have 2 interested individuals at least who say they're interested, who I would think would show up at the auction. So I think we can get that thing off of our tax forfeiture list rather soon. So just kind of wanted to let you guys know that that work is finally done, so.
That's a good update. Thank you.
Yeah, that one's a nice one. Also, we only have, I think it was around 10 parcels set to forfeit this year. Usually that gets cut in half by the time they actually forfeit, just because of liens and mortgages, so on and so forth, but only a couple of them actually have mortgages. So I would say that that's probably going to get, probably not cut in half, but at least a couple cut down there. So kind of a short list this year, which is nice for a change. Not having 20 parcels forfeiting is always a plus. So.
Pretty spread out again this year, too?
There's some in Pipestone. There's one in Edgerton. One in Woodstock, and a couple in Ruthven, and that's it.
How about Jasper? I know that was a big one.
Exactly, yeah. Jasper didn't have any this year. Howland didn't have any this year. No other small cities. Yep, it was Edgerton, Pipestone, Ruthven, and Woodstock is all. Yep. So
hopefully nothing with a real negative value. It's not going to have a big low
without
value.
seeing the houses, it's hard. I know we have some low value houses that are only worth 20, 30,000. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing necessarily, but usually when you see that value and they haven't been taken care of for 5 years, it's not a good sign. So we'll kind of see once I actually get into the houses what they're looking like. So the ones in Pipestone, yeah, it's hard to tell off the pictometry without going into them, to be completely honest with you. It really is. So I'll have more information when they actually do forfeit in a couple months here. So, yep.
And you did get a payment from some of the material removed from the high school?
Correct. Yes, that is settled. We did just settle on the original agreed amount. We discussed it briefly. I could tell it really wasn't going anywhere to get any more. Felt it was just best to kind of wash our hands of it and just get done. Also came in and signed all of the other requested forms that Domain had requested him to sign, so we should be good to go on that. So, yeah, the central school, as far as I'm concerned, we have nothing outstanding with that as far as outstanding bills or anything like that, except for getting the thing tore down. So once that's done, we should be good to go and moving forward with everything on that. So that's nice to know.
Any idea when they're gonna start doing that, or?
I would, to meet their deadline, I would think pretty soon here. I don't know, Steve, if you have anything.
That's what a lot of
I'm a little disappointed nothing has happened yet.
Mr. Chair, I reached out yesterday to Travis Winter at Bolton Mink to see what's going on with DRC, if he's heard anything from them, but I have not heard back yet. And I'll make sure I'll email you as soon as I get any information, and we put on the agenda for the 7th as well, but I haven't heard anything back yet since
Guessing
yesterday.
road restrictions might have.
But that's a problem too. We've got 10-ton road restrictions in a lot of areas up too, so it's gonna be tough to haul.
Just to refresh my memory or arm, what is the deadline on that thing? Wasn't it 1st of July or something
I
like
think
that?
so, we're into June.
You probably know
Yeah,
better.
it was June 30th.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was June something, so. Got a lot of work to get done by then, obviously.
Sure thing.
But that's why there's extensions and so on and so forth, and that's why we bid it out the way that we did it, so that we can kind of help ourselves and get a little extra money. Or
And we really don't
lower
know.
costs, I should say.
Yeah, we really don't know how much he's done on the inside so far.
I've not
So,
been in there.
no.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing. We don't really have access to the building, which is great. You know, it's in his liability. You know, we don't want people in there anyways. So it's good to know that. Well, it's good to see that it's going to move forward. Hopefully it gets done by the initial date. But if the way I'm looking at it is if it extends out, we just get a little cheaper bill. So
Right.
it's the way I'm looking at it, at least. So, yeah, so that's kind of all I have on the forfeiture front.
How's everything going with licensing, driver's license?
Good. The system, obviously, we're still having issues with the public, not necessarily issues with the public, just the knowledge factor. It's getting better. People are starting to come in with the documents that they know that they need. Obviously, we're still kind of surprising a couple people with everything that they need to bring in because of the way that the state dragged their feet for 15 years, pretty much, after 9/11. So I would just reiterate the fact that, yeah, this is all a law that was passed that in 2005 that the state just dragged their feet on, and that's why we're starting to do this, because there's a lot of people frustrated with all the information that they bring in. It's out of our hands. It's a federal law. And we're just kind of, now it's a state law too. We're just increasing to the federal standards. And once you do it once, you should be good to go. So we're having a lot of people upgrade. Obviously, it's a little more time consuming with the new system. We're kind of doing all the data entry. We're doing all of the scanning. We're doing essentially all of the state's work, but we're still getting the same $9 per driver's license, which I don't really necessarily agree with. I know that it's been discussed to look into maybe changing that funding, but I doubt that's ever going to happen, to be completely honest with you. We'll see if they get some cost estimates to figure so on and so forth, but we're definitely doing, from what I've been told, we do a lot more work with this system than we ever did with the last system. So,
Jared, are we permitted to add any charges on the county's end here?
Nope.
Okay.
no, we get what we get. That's a state fee.
It is that you can't.
Yep, it is what it is. Yep. So,
So all driver's license going forward then are the enhanced security ones?
well, there's 3 different kinds. You have the standard, which you can continuously have even after the federal standards of October 1st of 2020 kick in.
So you can still issue?
You can still get that. You just need to have a passport if you want to fly or to get into any federal facilities. If you want to get a real ID, which just gets you into federal facilities and on federal plane, you have to do that by October 1st of 2020. If you want the enhanced version, which you said, that is, it has a little bit of a passport card feature where it allows you into Canada and Mexico by land or sea. Costs an extra $15. Some people like it. You know, we got the fishermen, we got the snowbirds who go down to Arizona a lot. You know, they kind of like it. I personally feel if you already have a passport, there's really no reason to have that. But a lot of people don't have a passport though, too. So,
If your driver's license is not up for renewal yet, can you come in and have it upgraded anyway?
correct. Yes, you can. You will pay an early renewal fee. That's why I'm kind of letting people, everybody know, kind of wait until the last possible moment, because the lower amount of months that you have left with you before your license expires, the lower that the fee is for the renewal fee. I don't remember the exact months, but I think it varies from $12 down to like $2. So I know it's not a large portion. Some people are doing it just so they can get it over with. I'm just kind of saying you have until October of next year. You might as well wait. But
Do you have an idea how long, once you get this all done and they give you the information and you send it to the state, how long does the state take before the customer actually
gets their card. Yeah, I checked yesterday. The enhanced licenses, because of the new system and how far they're behind, then also the passport feature. They are in the middle of February. I want to say it was like February 22nd is what they're up to. The Real ID and the standards, they are about a month or so.
A month
Yep.
or two.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the standards actually usually go a little quicker just because there's not a whole lot of new information, but enhanced definitely take a lot longer because of the processing time as well as the passport feature. So, but I know see it's 9:40, so you want to get that other one done here.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, we're a little after 9:40, so I'll open up the tax abatement public hearing for Gary and Joan DeVries, parcel 0904-0200.
Yeah, so this one is, obviously, we already have to set the public hearing, so this is the estimate roughly of $578 per year for a total of $1,734. Just looking for the approval for that abatement request.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we approve the Gary and Joan DeVries the tax abatement.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
All right.
Okay, well, I guess we'll move on to the County Finance Committee investment strategies.
I guess, yeah, I was instructed that the board wanted to talk about this. More than willing to discuss this. I know that this is kind of something I wanted to talk about too as well. Because there are definitely ways that we can get more interest money for the county moving forward, especially in today's market. Interest rates might not be staying up for very much longer. We don't really know. It's kind of a weird time where all the short-term rates are the exact same rate as 5 years out. So it's kind of, there's definitely some blood in the water for that kind of thing. So, yeah, I don't know.
Dave, do you want to come up? Be part of the discussion?
I don't really know what we're all going to discuss here, but.
Hospital has some of the same questions with their fund balance.
Sure.
kind
Just trying to get on the same page here.
of get it aired out here a little bit and see what we can
Yeah.
do or can't.
I mean, I'm all for getting as much money as we possibly can, but I also, all of our money essentially right now is in local banks. I'm just gonna throw that out there. The only way that we're gonna get more money is to take money out of local banks. That's the CD rates that we're getting offered.
They're not gonna up their rates.
Well, let's just say we have a $1 million CD for the hospital right now that's coming due, that will automatically renew for 12 months. Straight line CD is only getting 1.3%. That's example, they're just not offering the higher rates that other areas are. That's strictly what it is. So, I mean, if we want to, I mean, I can talk to them, but usually your rate is your rate. You don't really get changed just because you're the county, so.
Tyler, do you know what the Magic Fund is paying right now?
Magic Fund, the last time I checked, was like 2.4, 2.41, something like that. I would say that's a money market account. Another money market account that I was looking at that I would tend to prefer strictly because of there's less restrictions. The Magic Fund, you have to invest $100,000 at least. So if you're in a money market, you want to take $50,000, you only want to put $50,000 in there, you can't do it in Magic. There would be no minimums on the First American Money Market. I've actually been working with Lynn Cornwall from Morton on this. That current rate right now is at 2.33. That's after all the fees, after everything that you would have, and that's next day withdrawal at any investment that you ever want. So you could put $1,000 in there, you could put $1 million in there, you could take it out the next day. Kind of think money market's kind of where to go right now, just because the CDs and the money market rates are essentially the same, at least for a little bit. I will say right now we're kind of locked into some of our CDs. Unless we pay early renewal penalties, I would have to look into those penalties, but
Well, if it's time for renewal.
we can,
there's no
exactly, yeah.
penalty?
You would have an early withdrawal penalty on some of the CDs if we wanted to move those monies.
I mean, but if they're ones that are coming up.
Yes, like,
for
oh,
renewal,
no, yeah,
then
we would
there's
just
no
take the
penalty.
check, correct. We would just, yep. So, I mean, I completely agree. I think,
What about security on these money market accounts that you're talking about? Are they?
as far as like what funds are in there, yeah, the one that I indicated, the portfolio allocation was investment companies, U.S. government agency debt, U.S. government agency repurchase, U.S. Treasury debt, and U.S. Treasury purchase. So those are all going to be AAA or higher, or you can't go higher than AAA. So it's very secure. You're not going to lose money or anything like that. It's not a hot shot, a Class B CD or anything like that. I mean, this is secure money. I mean, Dave, you can kind of speak to that. I mean, U.S. Treasuries, you can't get higher than that. I mean, so.
Yeah, that's the type of investment that we made with some of our the project money to get some higher rates on that. So obviously, the hospital's in a good cash position, so getting more interest would definitely help the bottom line there.
Correct.
It's nice if you can pull it out anytime you want to, if 6 months or.
Correct.
10 months, you're not tied up to a year either, so there's an advantage there.
And speaking to the hospital's funds, the interest that we're getting at our bank right now on that account, in our checking account, is only 0.3%. I was speaking with the auditor treasurer in Rock County. They get 2.4, 2.5% from their checking account, and no fees. Everything's free. So, I mean, I can definitely approach the banks and see if we can get something higher.
Where does the Laverne or the Rock County people, do they have local banks?
They have local bank, yeah, because I mean, we're gonna have to have some money in local because we have to run our day-to-day business.
Their banks apparently are more willing to up the interest a little bit than they are in Pipestone County. It sounds.
Well, I haven't approached our banks. I don't know the last time that they have been approached about the interest that we're getting. I don't think that it's anywhere near good enough, to be completely honest with you. So it's definitely a conversation that we have to sit down with
there, and
them.
it floats along, and you don't.
Correct. Well, I mean, we have over $6 million in that account right now that, get 2.5% instead of 0.3, how much more money are you to be getting? I mean, it's kind of common sense that we have to look out for our taxpayers here, so.
Tyler, you mentioned the 1.3% would be an available one from the local banks, but some of the existing CDs we've got, they're not even up to that 1%, are they? We've got a lot of them that are below 1%,
Correct.
I understand.
And, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, those would be older CDs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of this, I'm not blaming the banks on that because
That was
interest
the-
rates
that
have been
was the-
going up in this last year.
Right.
So, I mean, we're kind of dealing with it's very fresh information right now. It's not something that this has been going on for a long period of time. It's just kind of, we might as well take advantage of this window while we have it, because in the future, we don't know if it's gonna be there.
Yeah.
So,
Do you have any recommendations as far as how we proceed with this? Do you need to visit with local banks and take a look at our portfolio and see what we got coming up and what they
Right.
might be able to offer us going forward?
right, I mean, we can definitely, I don't know if I can do it personally, sit down with the banks. I don't know if Dave, you wanna get involved in that? Talk about getting a higher interest rate on our checking account. If they're not willing to budge, if they're not willing to come up to a number that we feel comfortable, then we can do a cash flow analysis to see exactly how much money we need to have in there for our day-to-day basis, just running our business, and then the rest can go into a money market, so we can get the higher interest rate, let it sit in there, and if we're short cash, we can just pull out of the money market quick. That's kind of the route that I would take on this, so.
I certainly understand the loyalty and the necessity for us to reinvest locally so those dollars turn around our community, absolutely. But we also have to look at the best interest of our taxpayers, and if there's that large of a disparity in the rates, we need to at least have a discussion with them and find out if there's a reason for it.
Yep, and I completely agree with that. It's nice that everybody's on the same page with this. It definitely sends a better message to the banks when they know the entire county and the hospital stands together on this. It's a little more clout, let's put it that way, so.
I think it's good if Dave's involved with
Correct.
this, so you can kind of work together.
Yep.
It gives you a little more
Especially
weight.
with as far as the hospital accounts go, obviously I'll talk to the other
other thing
banks
is Dave isn't going to be
personally.
here very long, so you might want to work this out.
Right, let's get this going with, right? It's going quick.
So next week would be.
Next week. Yeah. No, yeah, Dave, we can schedule time and we can actually go and sit and talk to the
Sure.
banks and.
That'd be a good idea.
Yep, and then I can talk to, well, at least the ones that the hospital, we have money at the hospital for. The other banks, I can sit down personally.
There's a lot of money involved here that's just
Correct.
sitting around. So-
And obviously, like I said, we're not gonna be able to put all of our money in a money market, or if we can't get, if we can't get a higher interest rate, that's kind of where the cash flow analysis comes in, to make sure we have enough cash on hand to be able to operate, and then everything above and beyond that can go into money market. I can see if there's some better investments right now, but it doesn't really make sense to be putting money back into CDs when you're getting the exact same thing in a money market. Why tie yourself up for 6 months to a year when you're getting the exact same rate for nothing? So,
Well, you still have to be concerned with safety and your.
correct,
investment.
and that's why I want to reiterate the fact that money market is all AAA Treasury. Essentially all AAA Treasury. So it's just as secure as a CD, but you just don't have the time restraint on it. Yep. So.
I just want to mention, I know Area 2 and our CRCA both have, like $100,000 CDs in Marshall that they're getting near 3% on and have for, a number of months now. There's no excuse why we can't be in that neighborhood.
Correct. The ones that I was letting automatically roll over, I was pretty shocked at the amounts that we were getting. They're not anywhere near what I was expecting, especially when you go to the national markets.
Right.
And I had that reiterated to me when I talked to Lynn Cornwall with Morton Investments and Christia Butman with Northland Securities, which we've used previously with our bonding. And they reiterated exactly the way that I saw it, so, and the way that we're all seeing it. So there's definitely things that we can do to improve the county returns here and help the taxpayers. So we might as well do that, because that's kind of what we're here for.
But I
So-
would certainly encourage you to work with the locals first if they're willing to step up.
Correct. Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, if they're willing to step up, we might as well just keep local.
That'd be the best option. but,
Correct. Yeah. But if they're not willing to work with us,
And we gotta do what we gotta do.
correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I think we're all on the same page now. so.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tyler, before you go, the
Yeah.
last thing on the agenda is the restricted and assigned account balance
Oh,
approval.
yeah. I didn't bring
Just
that
wanna-
down here. Shoot.
You need a copy, quick?
Yeah, just so I can kind of.
Take mine, that's fine.
If he's got a spare. All right. So this is the annually, every year we have to actually have the board approve the restricted accounts, which is again, that's outside money. So whether it's from the state, whether from its donations from the public, so on and so forth, our fund balance is there. Our non-spendable accounts, and then our assigned accounts. Non-spendable accounts, that's actually money from missing heirs. What that is, it's air money up at the courts, what we have to hold on to before you leave for 20 years, and then after that, it can roll over into the county. Assigned accounts, that's what we're setting aside. That's what it's board's discretion on those balances. How we set the assigned, how we did that is we actually just talked to the department heads who are associated with those budgets and those fund balances and had them approve it. That's how that's how I got these balances, and then you guys just need the final approval. I guess the only thing that I will point out to you, you can see that there's a large $23,000 negative for the enhanced 911. I think we all know E911 expenditures have been rather high the last couple of years. There's nothing that we can do about it. I have spoken with the sheriff, and he's indicated that will go above zero, or he feels it should go above zero by the end of the year. So we should be good to go there. It's just kind of a timing issue more than anything that should be resolved sooner rather than later with the $80,000 that we get every year from the state. So.
We had a large unbudgeted expenditure out of that last year, if I remember
Correct.
right.
Yes.
The logging recorder had gone out, and that was, I think, about 27,000. Does that sound right?
Something like, yeah, I think
Somewhere
27,000 roughly, yep.
to replace last year, because we can't run without it, so. And I think that pretty much put us in arrears right there.
Correct. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, we had the exact same issue last year. You can see we were at minus 6,500. We lost 16,007 in fund balance there that year when you had 27 for that one thing. So, I mean, it's just kind of, it's stuff you got to pay for. It's not cheap, but we have to have those systems up and running. So, as of right now, the way you would look at that is that the taxpayers are paying $23,275 in that fund balance. But with that said, like I said, Keith is planning on this year not spending that to get that back up to at least zero. So it's just more of a timing issue, so I wouldn't be too concerned about that moving forward, because that has been financed by the taxpayers as of now. But
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
The permit to carry fees, what are they restricted to? What can we use that money for? I mean.
Permit to carry, if I remember correctly, I would say this is one of the sheriff's many little funds that they have. I believe that has to be used for anything as far as protecting the county citizens through the sheriff's office. They essentially, I don't think there's a whole lot of restrictions on that, but it does have to be used.
The sheriff can use it at his discretion.
Essentially. I mean, there's a couple things on there that he has to use it on, but I don't believe that statute's very specific. Yep.
Because it's about doubled in the last 4 years or so.
Yes, and Keith has done a very good job. These fund balances, these restricted accounts, before Keith got here, were a lot higher than they are now. He has definitely made strides to ensure that we spend the money that we get from the state on little items here and there, whether it's new equipment, new supplies, so on and so forth. So he's definitely keeping an eye on those. We talk quite regularly on his balances and see what he can spend. So I think he's done a good job, and he's just going to kind of keep moving forward with making sure that we continue to spend state money before we spend taxpayer money. So.
Luke, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just curious, did you get together with Nick at all on having a assigned account for roads based?
We briefly, we didn't actually come up with a balance. There really wasn't a whole lot at the end of last year, to be completely honest with you. I mean, we could definitely put, I think it was like 20 or 30,000 maybe, but when you're talking about spending $5 million every year, is it worth it? I guess, you know what I mean? Especially when you have an entire fund associated to restricted funds. I mean, I get it. I completely understand. That's a good idea. I just know you wanted me to kind of net out what we kind of ran over last year, and there really wasn't a whole lot there. So, yep.
What about with like the wheelage tax? Does that show up anywhere in here, or is that something different?
Yes, the wheelage tax is. Oh, yeah, that's, the wheelage tax will not show up in here. Sorry, I apologize.
That's not restricted, I don't.
Correct. Yes, it's restricted by fund. This is just the general fund stuff. The wheelage tax obviously goes directly into the road and bridge fund, so that's in its own fund balance. The portion that goes into the county general fund is not restricted, so that just goes into our normal unassigned, unrestricted fund balance.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, on page 60 of the revenue report, under road and bridge construction, the wheelage tax is listed under 5015.
Correct.
And to date this year, we've collected $27,352.46, budgeted $162,000. That's on page 60 of the budget report.
Yes,
So it's
and
not
that's
in
due,
restricted. This is first quarter.
yeah, and that's due quarterly, so we might have had some miss there. I'm not saying that that's up to date completely, but we might get some more money for that, obviously just from the first quarter alone, where people paid after they cut that off. So I don't know that off the top of my head exactly where we're sitting at that. But beyond that, unless there's any more questions, yeah.
On the assigned accounts,
Yeah.
on the first page towards the bottom, the assigned county septic loan program,
Yes.
15,000. And on the second side, we've got assigned Rock River septic loan program with 13,000. And
Correct.
assigned Rock River 2.
Correct.
Any reason those three can't be combined into one?
Nope, there cannot. They're different, they're separate programs that the auditors indicated that we have to keep separate into separate fund balances.
Okay.
Yep, that's all that is. Yep. They're all essentially the same thing, but since they're different programs and had different approval dates and different pay dates, they want them separated out in different fund balances.
So if an individual property owner was putting in a septic system and he needed to borrow money for that or chose to borrow money for that, he could borrow from any one of these three, or it depends on what category?
It depends. Most of them were closed and we're actually paying off already.
I see.
Yep. I think the county one obviously is still open. I believe we have one more ag BMP where I think we have one more year possibly. But yeah, the majority of them were already repaying them back to the state. Yep. So.
And these monies that fund these came from the state
Came
originally?
from the state, and they're paid back by special assessments. So we have our payment schedule, we would collect those specials throughout the year, and we turn around and pay the loans
Back
with
to the
that.
state. I
Correct.
see.
Yep. And as far as new programs, I mean, we'll have to talk to Kyle on that. I don't know if they're planning on extending that, or if they have a new one. I don't really know. That's kind of Kyle's realm.
I think so, but isn't the county one our money?
Yeah, the county one, we can,
Right.
that's at our discretion. But I would say the majority of everybody else are using the ag BMPs, because I know that those are very low interest, and I think those are the ones he's kind of pushing, but I'm not, just from the fund balances that we
I
have.
thought the interest was the same on those and the county.
Are they? Yeah,
Aren't they all at
that's
3 or-
Kyle. I mean, that's his realm. I just see the balances, so.
Just another little quick question for Tyler. This
Yeah.
new home tax abatement thing that we've had, and
Mhm.
it's gonna sunset at the end of this year. If we
Yes.
decide to continue that, is it a lot extra work for your office to
Nope.
go through this stuff? I mean, there's.
Oh, to go through the actual abatements?
Yeah.
Not really. There's not a whole lot of difference between doing 10 a year and 15, 20 a year. I can run a report directly from the tax system. I have some hand calculations myself where I have to figure out the county portion. But really, it's just, it already breaks out the county portion of the taxes on the tax statement and in the tax system. So it's just turning around and cutting another check
Well,
once
we'll
or
have to
twice a
decide
year.
later This year, if we're gonna continue that or let it
Correct.
die at the end of this year.
Yes,
so that-
and I would say, I would like to reiterate, sorry, I'm cutting you off there. I would like to reiterate that we would like to have that approved sooner rather than later for all of the projects that are being approved. Steve, I know you got some information from Domain on that.
Mr. Chair, on that, I checked with Domain yesterday, and the abatement process can be updated and extended by a simple motion of the board. It does not have to go through a whole public hearing process, being it's already in process now. So that can be done at any future meeting we choose to go with. So
And is there any time limit or like a number of years you can
extend
extend?
it another 3 years, that's all I would recommend when you want to do it.
Yeah.
Another 3 years out, because it ends the end of
End of this
December
year.
31st of 19.
Didn't require a hearing or anything
Nope.
for that. It was just something the board did.
Right, yeah, we initially passed it by resolution.
Right.
Yep, and as Steve indicated, you guys just need to make a motion and we can extend it, so.
The city of Pipestone also got into it after we
Correct.
approved
The city
it.
of Pipestone did it, I don't know, the city of Edgerton didn't do it, did they?
That's what I was curious, and if
Yep.
any of the other municipalities have.
Yep, so I think it's just the city. I know a lot of counties are starting to do this. I know I've been requested by our Lincoln, Murray, and I believe Rock all requested our policy, at least. I don't know if they actually passed it, but I think this is kind of becoming common. Nobles did it. That's how we kind of mimicked.
Right.
I think it's kind of becoming a lot more common in our area. I'm not saying that we should keep doing it just for that, but I think it's definitely not a bad thing. All we're doing, we're not costing ourselves any money. We're just delaying the increase in taxes. That's all we're doing. So
When does our existing,
This year,
what month does it expire this year?
December 31st
December.
of 19.
Okay.
Yep.
Should we go ahead and put it on the agenda yet this spring and go ahead and get it taken care of? You know,
I have it on the agenda for May 7th.
I think it's a good idea.
Yep, I put it on there for the 7th, so we'll take care of it then.
Are you looking for action on this report?
We do need
Yes.
it.
yes, yep. we just
Mr.
need to
Chair,
have
I'll
those
move
approved.
that we approve Tyler Reich's restricted assigned account balance report.
second.
Motion accepted. In a second to accept the report. Is there any further discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen. Anything else? All right, you guys have a good one.
Thank you,
Tyler,
Tyler.
you too.
Talk about the accounts receivable.
Thanks, Dave.
Accounts receivable. Would you like to talk about that?
That with Dave.
I think he was here for
Or else,
finance.
put it on the agenda for the 7th.
What now?
PCMC business. We need to, we're supposed to direct Dave to look into a legal matter because the county attorney can't represent a matter that we need to do for,
The main here too for that, correct?
no, we don't need to.
I don't think so, because he's not going to be handling it, so.
That has, oh, he's not.
No, he's seen the conflict interest
Oh,
in
okay, I
handling
didn't
it.
have him getting heard that.
Want that on the 7th?
I
We
think
could
that
do it
makes sense.
today, too.
Well, we didn't add it to the agenda. We don't,
True, that's a
We did-
very good point. That email just came out yesterday.
Yeah.
so-
Yeah, just add it on the 7th.
what is it a conflict of interest? Is that what I'm,
An accounts receivable issue.
accounts receivable? Okay.
Litigation. All right, is there any other business to come forward?
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of upcoming meetings on the backside of your agenda. You have the Missouri River One Watershed, one planned public hearing April 30th, 9:30 a.m., Edgerton Fire Hall. So that will be coming up in Bruce's hometown, so if anybody's going to head down to that. And then they have another one later that afternoon in Worthington as well. And beyond that, next Monday, the 30th, the next Era Lake Benton 2 wind turbine project pre-construction meeting will be at the EMS building.
Tuesday, the 30th.
Excuse me, Tuesday the 30th. Yes, Tuesday the 30th, sorry. So, Blattner Construction will be at that. They're the ones who are doing the project this year, the construction company.
Thank you. Is there any other business to come before the board today?
Move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion second to adjourn. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. We stand adjourned.